Welcome, everybody. My name is Avraham Gundle, and I thank you all for taking time in to show up here for yourself, for your spouses, for your family, for your friends, etc. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the founder and director for the Center for Integrated Medicine here in Ramat Beit Shemesh, Israel. I'm trained as an osteopath and I practice functional and integrated medicine. And over the last 30 years in private practice, I've been privileged to help many people overcome chronic health challenges, be it autoimmune diseases, thyroid issues, digestive issues, just to name a few. And what gives me an entry into this world of trauma is I was very fortunate to study trauma care through Dr. James Gordon, who's founded the Center for Mind-Body Medicine based in Washington. And many years ago, he came to Israel, and I was amongst those graduates who went through his program, and I was invited back to teach one of the modules called the Biological Underpinnings to Mind-Body Medicine, which talks about the neurology of what happens in the body and the nervous system in the brain when a person's involved with exposed to trauma, etc. I'm not going down the technical pathway today. Today's webinar is going to be an interactive webinar where I wish to invite you to explore these tools and strategies that I'm going to be sharing with you. This is not an intellectual process. This is what I'm going to share with you is really two core concepts, rather two approaches. One is core principles, and the other is one of my favorite practices to regulate the body. This is part 2 in transforming through trauma. And last week I went and I shared with you some other strategies, and I invite each one of you, I'll share the link in the email. I invite you to review that or see it if you haven't, because it has fundamental principles and practices that will help you very, very much, as it's done for me in my life over the last many years of practice. Towards the end of the month, I'm going to be launching my Heal Your Gut program. So if any of you do have a gut issue, and at this time, my patients who have gut issues, things are very much exacerbated because of the stress, anxiety, fear, worry, etc., and disruption, what's going on at the moment. So if you are interested in a mind-body approach to healing your gut from the inside out, go ahead and just type gut health in the chat, and I'll come back to you with some more information later on. So this is a workshop style webinar. This is less about me talking and more about us practicing together. One of my teachers said, let your tools work for you, meaning all these tools and strategies that hopefully you'll be learning over time. And I'm going to share one of my favorites with you today. They can only work for you if you practice them. So you've got to practice your tools for them to work with you. And it's almost like practicing a piano or practicing any skill that you want to get good at. It's only through practicing. Intellectual knowledge is simply not enough to carry us through the tremendous disruption, disorganization that is going on outside and going on inside in our mind, in our heart. There's big T trauma and there's little t trauma. Anything that causes a disruption in our nervous system, in our brain, in our perception is an effect of trauma. And what I'm going to share with you today is an approach to create cohesion, to create internal organization, and to, over time, allow an embodiment of present mind consciousness, which is what healing from stress and trauma is really all about. Trauma is taking us out of the present state either into the future, into worry, fear, panic, or in the past by taking us down a regretful, remorseful pathway. We cannot change the past. We have very little influence over the future, and now very little influence about what's going on in the greater picture outside of us. But what we can do is take control over our brain, our focus, our nervous system. I'm going to share with you one of my favorite strategies to do that. So I'd like to share with you a slide sharing some core principles that will help give you the mindsets to take this work to its rightful place. So the title of today's webinar is called Transforming Trauma, which basically, through the pathway, and it's a journey, through this journey, we can become new and improved. As hard as it sounds right now, we're all holding in different places, we're all affected in different ways. Wherever you are on this journey, that the tools and strategies that I'll be sharing with you from last session and today will bring you into a present state consciousness where you'll be able to connect with yourself, reorganize your internal world, and as a result, move into the world in a proactive, positive, more connected place. So the key concepts that I'd like to share with you, and I've called them key concepts and not core concepts, is because they really unlock our ability to be empowered at this time. The first one is obviously, and it's the most important, and that is pure, simple faith. We don't understand a thing. Kuzari says in Yodativ, Hayitiv, if I understood the mind of God, I would be God. So it makes perfect sense that we don't understand anything because we're not Him. We're not Hashem. So cultivating Emunah is the first bedrock to successfully navigate the terrain of any challenge whatsoever. To understand that Hashem loves us, He cares for us, He's got our back, He's rooting for us, and ultimately He'll come out on top. And right now, we don't know anything. One of my favorite children's books, and I think it's really an adult book, is this little kid who's peeking through a keyhole, and he sees a terrible scene through the keyhole, and then he turns the page and he sees, a surgeon with a scalpel doing some surgery that saves someone's life. And then he gets to the next door and he looks through this hole and he comes to a terrible conclusion. And again, he gets to see the bigger picture. And this is important because right now, I think the keyhole is blocked, or it's a slither of light and we have no perception of what's really happening on the other side at all. This is called hastara betoch hastara, the hiddenness in the hiddenness. So right now it's bunkering down in Emunah and faith and praying for it. Recognizing, as Shlomo Melech says, that know that this too will pass in the fullness of time. And if you are like me, where I'm having to repeat people's names again, write everything down, forgot what I just said, or not managing to hold a conversation sometimes and get easily distracted, especially at this time. The stress response is all normal and protective. This is all part of being unraveled, and it's normal, and there's nothing wrong with you whatsoever. So the envelope, the environment in which healing occurs is an environment of an embrace of self-love, self-compassion, and be very, very forgiving of yourself and obviously other people as well, because we're not ourselves right now. I'm certainly not myself right now. And even putting this workshop together today, it went through multiple metamorphoses, because over the last 30 years, I've been fortunate to glean many, many tools that I've used for myself, my family, and my patients. And I needed to distill down what is the most important thing that I can offer you today, and recognize that this is a journey. And today you'll get another piece, another nugget. And last session, hopefully you'll watch the replay and you'll get some other strategies to take this work to touch you in the right places. An important principle, concept to understand is, I often ask my kids, how often does a thought last? And some people say 5 seconds, 7 seconds, The answer is as long as you think it. A thought is simply an electrical impulse in your brain. And our greatest expression of free choice is simply to choose the next thought. So if we beset with negative thoughts and darkness, just remember it's a thought, and thoughts last as long as you think them, and you're empowered to think a new thought. And I'll get into the neurology of this in a little bit. And you can take advantage of this by recognizing that your brain can only think and or focus on one thought at a time. What this means is that if a negative thought comes into your mind, simply replace it with a positive thought. Do not distract yourself and push it away and go into a thought war. That's going to fail you. Next to my bed, I have a few little albums of my magical moments with my family, kids, etc. And every night before I go to sleep, I go through them and remind my brain and my nervous system of all the positive stuff in my life. And 2 days ago, they were not next to my bed anymore. And I went hunting around the house for them. And one of my kids had taken them, was chilling on the couch going through the albums. So we all need a library, an internal library of all the wonderful things we've experienced through our life, through be it moments, little slithers of goodness to wonderful things on a grander scale. That constant reflection of those and building out our internal archive will help us when a negative thought comes in, and when we catch ourselves going down dark lane, is simply to replace it with another thought. And this is a practice. Let's move on before I get on to the practical component to some other things to remember. But before we do that, since this is a workshop, I'd like for you just to sit up in your chair for a moment, please. I'll invite you all, just wherever you are in the world, wherever you are, sitting, standing, that's fine. Just simply allow yourself to take a deep cleansing breath in through your nose. And as you breathe out through pursed lips, a long out breath, dropping your shoulders down, squeezing your belly as you breathe out. Once again, a nice, deep, cleansing, comfortable breath in through your nose. And as you breathe out, feel your back against the back of the chair, your seat sitting comfortably on the chair, your feet resting on the floor. And last one, as you breathe in through your nose, I invite you to wiggle your toes. So breathe in through your nose, wiggle your toes, and breathing out. Wonderful. And as you continue to breathe normally through this, the sentence, breathing through your nose, wiggle your toes, is very childish and childlike. And it puts a smile, at least on my face, because it's that breaks our state and begins a cascade of wonderful neurochemicals, dopamine, serotonin in our brain, in our gut, just by simply doing fun, silly little things. So practice being fun and silly every day. Get a dose of that in. Rabbi Nachman teaches about a concept called milei d'shtusa, things of fun and lightheartedness, so to speak. Make sure you get a dose every day with your kids, with yourself, a chuckle, a giggle, something appropriate for yourself, just to keep your nervous system attuned to constantly sorting for the good. Breathing deeply is one of the most regulating things we can do for ourselves and our nervous system. So through this webinar, I invite you, just when you remember, I'll help to remind you and myself just to take some deeper breaths in through your nose and wiggle your toes. Let's continue. It's good to know these following principles. They are going to be the bedrock to helping us all through this. The first is to normalize everything that's going on. Our bodies are designed by our Creator to react without checking in with us, without asking for permission, without knocking on the door and saying, "Excuse me, can I freak out right now?" When we are activated, it's an automatic, autonomic nervous system thing. And that's how we were made. It's to keep us safe. We are not wired for happiness, joy, and fulfillment. We are wired for safety and security. I'm going to say that again. We are not wired for happiness, joy, and fulfillment. We are wired for safety and security. Therefore, if you want a happy, joyous, and fulfilled life, it requires a pathway of constant training the brain and constant focusing your mind. And I touched this I touched into this in the previous training, which I'll send out the link to your emails tomorrow. When we feel safe enough, our bodies will heal over time, and this is a process. In English, a person, and the name given for a person who's recovering from something is called a patient, because their invitation is there to be patient with the healing process. Whatever we're going through, it will end at some point, and we all will get our ultimate healing in the end. So be patient with yourself as the healing unfolds. The next principle to know about, it's okay to expect our minds and our bodies to act differently during crisis. If you're waking up more at night and can't get back to sleep, or you're going to the loo more at night, or you short-tempered or more reactive, or feeling anxious, or forgetting names, or forgetting numbers, or what was I going to say? That's all normal. It's all okay. And this is the embrace of self-compassion, acceptance during this very, very, very difficult, dark time. So for now, we can ask ourselves, what do I want to do about all these reactions in my body and mind when they show up? That's a question, and the question grabs your focus. So when you feel activated, you feel sad, angry, upset, disturbed, worried, whatever it happens to be, the invitation is to take a deep breath and then ask that question. For now, what do I want to do about this? And then you'll use your skills, and one of my favorite skills that I'm going to be sharing with you today. And then for now, we can't stop the war from happening, but we can definitely change the way we each go up and how we experience it differently. That is, again, moving into a place of empowering ourselves and those around us by making order in our mind and body and choosing our focus intentionally. We can change how we experience it differently. I have a WhatsApp group. If you would like to join the WhatsApp group, this is an opportunity to just hold your camera up to this slide. Sometimes I send out information that I'm not sharing on the email, only because it's just easier and so lower hanging fruit. So if you're not on my 1440 Thrive WhatsApp group, you can just take a screenshot of this slide and I'll join you on the inside in our WhatsApp group. I'll put it back up again. I'll put it back up again in towards the end as well. Okay, thank you. So there are two groups of skills that we're going to jump into. One is called the stabilizing skills, and the one is called mobilizing skills. And this is a skills game. It's not about knowing stuff in your head. It's really about practicing. You can learn all about swimming from all the textbooks, but until you're thrown into the pool or the ocean, you're not going to know how to swim. You can learn how to drive and pass your theory test, but until you're behind a wheel and you've done your 30 hours of training, you haven't got it. This is exactly the same thing. Everything you may be learning from me, from others, the invitation is to bring it into your life, bring it into your day, making time to put the self-regulation or mobilizing skills or stabilizing skills on the map. Last session, I shared with you the body scan, the calm breathing technique, and the breathing start technique for kids, which I use in my family and I use with my patients. Again, you'll refer to them there, refer to the previous video. Those are called stabilizing strategies. They stabilize our nervous system. They stabilize our brain and affirm our being, which has been disrupted at this time. So anything we can do to affirm our internal world as being okay, as being stable, the better it is, and we'll be able to function much more successfully. And then there's mobilization skills, which I shared last session, which was the shaking to music, which is a totally out of the box kind of strategy. I learned this from Dr. Jim Gordon. And before he had us train others, he wanted us to practice each skill for a minimum of 3 to 6 months. And that was highly transformative for me in my own personal life. I was going through a lot of personal struggle and challenge. And Dr. James Gordon's training came at the most perfect time in my life. And I was able to practice them then, all those years back, and then continue them in my daily practice every single day. After davening, I go davenate in the morning, and afterwards I spend some time outdoors in nature. And that's my time for reflective time, for being intentional, for my self-regulation, connecting time, so to speak. So I have a slot every day in my life to practice these skills, so I can show up as the best father I can be, the best spouse I can be, best version of myself with my patients, my clients, etc. And also have the ability to course correct when I go south. We all do. And it's not about not going south. It's about recognizing that's happened, taking full responsibility, getting back up on the wagon. And a measure of fitness, physical fitness, is the speed at which your heart rate, your pulse comes back to your resting pulse. The shorter that time, the fitter you are cardiovascularly. The fitter you are emotionally is the speed at which you can come back to your natural, hopefully more buoyant, somewhat upbeat self after you've lost yourself. So it's recognizing that you're out of shape and then giving yourself permission to regroup. So let's just take a minute, if you wouldn't mind putting in the chat right now. I've been doing more talking than I anticipated because I want to do more talking and more practice with you. But go ahead, just type in the chat one word, one phrase, or even an emoji about what are you feeling, what are you present to right now, what's happening for you. So go ahead, just type in the chat one word, one phrase, an emoji. Just give me a sense of who is here today so I can support you and gear this webinar to you. So thank you for writing. Someone's written down, someone else calm, tense, fear of the unknown, what lies ahead. Thank you for sharing that. And that's a wonderful catch. And as you're aware that your mind has gone into the future is an unknown, and it always is a place of anxiety. So if a person experiences anxiety, it means that by and large, the thoughts are going in a forward future direction. Here's another principle, that we always feel our thinking. There are no exceptions to this. We always feel our thinking. So if you're feeling anxious or afraid or fearful about what's happened in the past, I'm not talking about fear from a real threat this moment, but a relived fear. It's because there's fearful thoughts in the mind. And the first step is to become cognizant, to become aware of what is going through my mind. So someone else has written, it's reassuring to know it's all normal. Yes, that for me was deeply reassuring. I'm okay. I'm not a nutter. Although a lot of people think I am, that's fine, but this is normal. Someone said frazzled, thank you, relaxing, less energy, love and fear. Yes, Chazal talk about two very different states can be apparent in our being at one time. It's called Gila Varada. Before the Yomim Noraim, there's this Gila, which is this ecstasy of joy, and Rada, fear, really fear of what's at stake here. In fact, one of my teachers taught that our heart has 4 chambers. HaKadosh Baruch Hu could have made our heart with 1 chamber or no chambers. He made 4. And that is to hint that just as there are 4 seasons out there in the world, there are also 4 seasons at least, and then some inside our own internal world. So we can absolutely feel multiple and very conflicting feelings all at the same time. And making space to check in with yourself and note those is part of a healthy organizing principle. Someone else has written drained, low functioning, sad at mankind. Yes. Okay, got you. Someone else has said thrilled, as one of the rescued, our army rescued one of our captured soldiers. Yes. Okay, thank you for sharing. I want to move into a whole different world now for a moment. And as we transition, I'm going to invite you just to do 3 slow, deep breaths. They're breathing in through your nose, wiggling your toes. Just do this in your own time. As you breathe in through your nose, wiggle your toes, and a long out breath. And when you breathe out with pursed lips, it creates a back pressure in the lungs, and that puts pressure, healthy pressure on the diaphragm. And this helps to regulate the oxygen, carbon dioxide in our brain, in our blood, and settles and calms us down. So instead of just blowing the air out, it's through pursed lips. So breathing in, wiggling the toes, a little smile on your face if you're comfortable doing that. And breathing out through pursed lips, dropping your shoulders down. Wonderful. One of my favorite, this technique is this skill is in the camp of stabilization strategies. It is not a mobilization strategies. Mobilization strategies like running, dancing, pushing against the wall, pushing against the floor, all sorts of things you can do to grab something and squeeze it to just mobilize that pent-up energy in a productive way that's not going to harm you or harm other people or harm property. So this skill is using the power of visualization, the power of imagery. I'm not going to go into the neuroscience of imagery, but be it known just for now that our brain thinks in images, and I don't only mean pictures, but a working definition of imagery. I have a working definition here. That I liked. Yeah, it's a broad-based definition. Imagery is defined as a thought process that invokes and uses all the senses, the smell, olfactory, images, sight, visual, sound, auditory, touch, kinesthetic, and taste, gustatory. So imagery doesn't just mean visual, it means our whole mind-body phenomena. And imagery is an extremely potent way to calm down and regulate our nervous system, our brain, and bring us to a much, much resourced place. And here's the key teaching about imagery. The brain does not distinguish or cannot distinguish between real and imaginary images. And let's pause that thought for a moment and invite you just for a couple of minutes just to do an eyes closed process with me, if you're willing. Again, we are exploring together on this webinar. If you're not comfortable closing your eyes, you certainly don't have to. This is an invitation to explore. If you want to peek anytime, you can. That's no problem. But I invite you not to be a spectator. I invite you to take part to the extent that you are comfortable and able to right now. So if you're comfortable, just allow your eyes to close for a moment. And imagine for a moment that you're standing in the kitchen and you have a large cutting board in front of you. And on that cutting board is a safe, sharp knife and a large lemon. Just slowly picking up that lemon from the cutting board, bring it up to your nose, getting a sense of that vague lemony smell. Hold the lemon in your hand, if you will, and just get a sense of how much does this weigh? And then notice if this is cold from the fridge or room temperature just from being in the kitchen. And then rub your thumb on the skin and get a sense of is it smoothed or it's ribbed or it's got little knobbles on it. Just get a sense of what that feels like. And then go ahead and put the lemon down on the cutting board and safely just gently slice that lemon in half. Pick up the other half of the lemon and bring it to your nose and give a big smell of that lemon. And then look at those shining segments shining in the light, placing it half down on the cutting board once again. And then safely cutting that half again into a quarter, into a nice wedge. And then go ahead, bring that wedge up to your nose, smell it again. And then, even though you may not be totally comfortable to do that, I invite you just to put it in your mouth and bite down onto that lemon wedge. And just get that sense of that lemon going through your mouth and down into your throat. Notice what you feel in your body for a moment. And then you can open your eyes and come back to our Zoom. Now, I'm curious, for those of you who join me on this visualization exercise, could you just type in the chat and let me know what you noticed? What color was your lemon? What temperature was your lemon? Was it knobbly or smooth? Just go ahead, type in the chat. What did you notice about your lemon? Someone's written in yellow and bumpy. Thank you. Let me know what temperature it was. Someone's written in was so real. Thank you. Room temperature, bumpy skin, yellow. Very good. I sense its acidity. Thank you. Thank you. What else did you notice? How heavy was your lemon? Someone's written it's room temperature. I sense its acidity. Yellow, brown, a bit old and hardening, but still fresh inside. Thank you. Quite heavy. Thank you. Thanks for giving this feedback to me in the chat. I'm going to take live Q&A towards the end as well, so hang in there. Someone's written yellow, juicy scent, saliva flowed. That's also what I was looking for. Thank you. Just guiding you through this, I had saliva activated in my mouth. What did we learn from this discovery process? Is that I didn't tell you its color. I didn't tell you its size or shape. I didn't tell you if it was warm or cold. I just asked you the questions. Is it warm or is it cold? What size is it? What's its skin surface feel like? I'm inviting you to begin to use all your senses in this process. The sense of smell, the sense of taste. Can't really hear a lemon too much. The sense, its weight, its kinesthetic experience, the olfactory sense. The more you're able to engage your senses in the visualization process, the more your brain will be engaged with that process, and the more benefit and transformation is available to you. And this is why visualization is used extensively in healing from trauma, particularly, and to advance emotional health and spiritual evolution, so to speak. In fact, one of the most touching stories I came across when I was studying this work in depth was with Dr. Bernie Siegel. Dr. Bernie Siegel is an oncologist based out in Massachusetts, and in one of his books called Love, Medicine, and Miracles, I think it's that one, he shares the following story where everybody going through his cancer program needed to undergo a training in visualization. And he guided this woman, we'll call her Betty, through the visualization course, which, by the way, I use a lot of these teachings and elements in my gut healing process, because the gut is at the hub of the nervous system. And it helps facilitate healing and transformation by activating the visualization to activate the gut as well, because dopamine, serotonin, majority of those, 95% of serotonin is made in your gut, not in your brain. So it's so important to have a healthy gut. So she went through Dr. Siegel's program. Anyway, she went for her routine cancer surgery to remove literally a breadfruit-sized tumor from her belly. And for Dr. Siegel and his team, this was a routine surgery. And this was a patient who was under full anesthetic with a surgical team around her. Everything was going incredibly well. And at a certain point, once the tumor was removed and they were sewing her up again, things went very, very poorly. Her blood pressure dropped, pulse rate dropped. She started hemorrhaging, bleeding heavily into her gut, where the surgery was taking place. And Dr. Siegel didn't miss a beat. He said to her, Betty, and this is a woman under general anesthesia, Betty, remember all the skills you learned. When I count to 3, I want you to reroute all the blood from your gut to your hands and feet. And her unconscious process, because the unconscious is never asleep, and she got the message, and straight away the blood drained from her gut into her periphery, into her hands and feet. Heart rate stabilized, blood pressure stabilized. They sewed her up, and she survived to tell the tale. And when Dr. Siegel went to visit her in the recovery room, he, asked her, "Hey, Betty, how you doing?" And she said, "Great, doctor. The wound is a little bit sore." He said, "Yeah, that's normal. That will heal. Do you remember anything from the surgery?" She said, "Yeah, everything okay?" Yeah, everything's fine. She remembered absolutely nothing. And then obviously when she was in full recovery, he recorded, he shared that with her. So visualization is not an add-on. It's not an extra. It's not a nice thing to do. It's a fundamental principle in healing. So what I'd like us all to do is we're going to take a 1-minute stand up and shake break. And then I'm going to share with you my favorite visualization process. Now, the session is recorded. If for whatever reason you need to go, you won't miss a thing. I'm going to send it out. And I should have said this at the beginning. If we did need to go to our shelters, then we'll just come back afterwards. But once again, the recording will be there for you as well. So I'm going to stand. I invite you all just to stand up for a minute. Just adjust my camera. We've been sitting for a little bit of a while. We're going to sit as I share with you my next process. So if you wouldn't mind just standing, stand up, everybody. This is the audience participation section. If you are here live or you're watching the replay, I invite you to stand up if you're comfortable already. There we go. Stand up, everybody, and literally just shake out your legs, your hands, your feet, shake up and down, shake up, get the blood circulation going. This also roots us back into our body, out of our head, even though I've been mixing in learning with our head and learning with our body. Just shake your body out at the same time. Take a nice big stretch. Wiggle your toes, breathe in your nose, and come take a seat again, please. Wonderful. Thank you all for just playing so fully. And for those of you who need to hydrate, this is a great hydration moment. L'chaim. Okay. So I'm going to be sharing with you next. It's probably one of my favorite stabilization meditations. It's a process called the safe place. There are many variations of it, and I will gift you all for coming today my meditation as an MP3 download. I'll send it tomorrow or later on in the week, where you can just put it on your phone or your computer and listen to it. The more you listen to this meditation, ones like this, the more it trains your brain and your nervous system to reorder itself and regroup. Remember, these are skills that need to be practiced. This is called safe place meditation. Now, if you've never done a meditation before, it doesn't matter. All you need to do is close your eyes if you're comfortable. I'm going to guide you through this process. If you can visualize the lemon, or you can even remember the color of your front door, you can do this process. If you've ever dreamed, or you even know someone who's ever dreamed, you can do this process. Kids do it, adults do it, everybody can do it. It requires no special skills, no special ability, just a willingness to explore something new and different. The invitation here is to have a childlike mind, an open mind to a beginner's mind through this eyes closed process. And if any time you feel unsafe or uncomfortable and you want to open your eyes, you can. The chat is open. You can ask your questions in the chat, which I will then field afterwards and not during this process. As a one-sentence introduction, it's about a 15-minute process. I've chosen this because there is so much chaos outside ourselves, which we absolutely cannot exert influence and control over at all, except through the simple power of prayer, which is the only ultimate power. But because there's so much chaos on the outside world, our body-mind complex gets impregnated with that chaos and confusion. And since we're unsafe out there, we're unsafe in here. The safe place meditation is an invitation to create and or find a safe place for you in your mind. Just as I spoke about earlier, going through an archive of family pictures, you'll have an invitation to create a safe place image in your mind. There's no perfect place. Everybody has a different one. I've done this many, many times myself, and many, many times in retreats with people and groups. And it could be different every time. Some people go to the hotel, some people go to the mountains, some people just stay at home in their grandmother's rocking chair. Some people don't actually have a safe place that they physically remember or can go to, and that's okay. You can create one. Just, gone through Mishpacha magazine and there's an advert for something, or a travel magazine, there's an advert for a beautiful place. You can use that for now. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good enough for today so you can focus on the exercise. Okay, folks, The invitation is just for the next 12, 15 minutes. Follow my words. If your phone is off or on silent, that's good. Obviously, in this time, if you need to check your phone and all that stuff, feel free to do that. But if for 10 minutes you can have it on, 15 minutes you can have it on silent, that will be even better. Okay, folks. So sitting up in your chairs, all you need to do is close your eyes and follow my voice. And if you miss anything, don't worry, I'll send it all to you afterwards in the week.
Hi, this is Avraham Gundle from Meishiv Hanofesh. Take a few minutes now. Let me teach you the simplest way I know to relax, release stress, and refresh yourself. Before you begin to relax, take a minute to become aware of your body and the way you feel right now. Slowly, scan your awareness through your body and notice any tension or discomfort you may feel. If you had an imaginary scale from 0 to 10, where 0 represented no tension at all, and 10 represented as much tension as you could possibly feel, where would you place yourself right now on the scale? Remember this number, and we'll check in again after you experiment with the guided imagery process I will now share with you. Take a comfortable position and loosen any tight or restrictive clothing. Let your breathing get a little deeper and a little fuller, and let yourself begin to relax in your own way. And imagine that you can draw your breath all the way down into your abdomen or even into your pelvis. Let every breath out be a really letting go kind of breath, as if you were a balloon deflating and letting go of any stress and tension with every breath you release. And with every breath in, notice that you bring in fresh air, fresh oxygen, and fresh energy that you can fuel and recharge your body. And with every breath out, imagine that you can release a bit of tension, a bit of discomfort, a bit of worry, a bit of fatigue or pain, or whatever. And let your body and mind begin to relax more and more. Begin to shift gears. Let it be an easy and natural movement without having to force anything. Just let relaxation happen. Just breathing and relaxing. Your body enjoys relaxing, and it will relax naturally if you let it. And now, let your breathing take its own natural rate and rhythm, and simply let the gentle movement of your body as it breathes be naturally and comfortably relaxing. And give yourself permission to relax and recharge for a few minutes. Take a little break from obligations and things you feel you have to do, and afterwards, you may be surprised to find that you do whatever you really need to do with less effort and stress than you might have imagined was possible. But for now, simply let yourself imagine that you are somewhere you just love to be. Somewhere that's beautiful to you. Somewhere that's special and safe and comfortable. Some place that you've been to in your life, or somewhere that just comes to mind right now. It doesn't really matter whether it's a place in the outside world or a purely imaginary place, or some combination of the two. as long as it's beautiful to you, safe, comfortable, and peaceful. A place that feels really good to be in. A place you can deeply relax and be nourished by the beauty and peacefulness you find there. And if more than one place comes to mind, just pick whichever one attracts you right now the most. You can always visit the others later if you like. And take some time to explore the beautiful place that comes to mind. And notice what you imagine there. Notice the shapes and things and colors. And notice if there are any sounds that you imagine hearing. Or if it's simply very quiet in your beautiful place. Notice what the air is like. And if there's a fragrance or aroma you imagine, there may be or maybe not. And it's perfectly alright however you imagine this place of relaxation to be. It may change over time, or it may stay the same, and it doesn't matter at this point as long as you feel comfortable there. Notice if you can tell what time of day or night it is, or what time of year. And what's the temperature like? How are you dressed? How does it feel to be there? Just notice. Perhaps you can become aware of the quality of light there. And if you find your mind wandering from time to time, just take another deep breath or two and gently return your attention to this beautiful, relaxing place. Just for now, without feeling the need to go anywhere else or do anything else. Take a few well-earned minutes for yourself to enjoy the beauty and the comfort you find there. And as you relax in this place, your body's natural healing and repair systems can operate at their highest efficiency without distraction and without needing to be told what to do. So that when you return from this place, you can feel not only relaxed, but refreshed and revitalized, as if you've had a really good rest. And just take a little time now to enjoy deeply relaxing and renewing yourself in this beautiful place. Now stay relaxed, and in a few minutes, when you return your attention to the outer world, you can bring back with you a feeling of relaxation and refreshment, and a sense that you can return to this place and continue to draw from this deep peacefulness anytime you like. And when you relax again, know that you can relax even deeper the next time around. And knowing all of this, you can begin to prepare to return to the outer world, bringing back with you a pleasant sense of relaxation and a knowledge that you always have within you this source of beauty and peacefulness. So now, when you're ready to return your awareness to the outer world, remembering that you can come back to this inner place of comfort, relaxation, and refreshment whenever you like. And notice any gratitude you may feel for having such a place of calm and beauty within you. A place you can return to any time, or a place you can simply recall and draw from the peacefulness you imagine there. And knowing that, when you're ready, allow all the images to fade and go back inside, and begin to gently bring your awareness to the room around you and to the current time and place. And as you return your attention to the outer world, bring back with you anything that seems important or interesting to you, including any feelings of comfort, relaxation and refreshment. And when you're all the way back, gently and in your own time, stretch and open your eyes. Take a few moments to come all the way back into your body and come back feeling more relaxed and refreshed and even more energized than you were, ready to make the best of the day or evening ahead of you. And as you come fully alert, feeling more refreshed, relaxed, and revitalized than you were before, take a moment to once again scan through your body and just notice on a scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is no tension at all and 10 is the most tension you can imagine. Where would you place yourself now? If you noticed that your body responded to your thoughts and images, and especially if you feel more relaxed now than you did before, you're a good candidate for using guided imagery and your mind-body connection to help support your health and healing. If you've enjoyed this brief guided imagery relaxation, use it whenever you need relaxing and refreshing.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you all for joining so fully. Excuse me. I brought back a sneeze from a safe place. Maybe it was the pollen. The brain does not distinguish between real and imaginary. So I was at the beach and there were some flowers. I love this. It's a surprise every time. So this would be a good opportunity if anybody has a particular, you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to just take one or two shares about the safe place right now. If anyone is willing, just on the topic of safe place, please would you, if you want, just to raise your physical or better still your digital hand so I can find you. If you go to reactions and say raise hand, then I can see you in the Zoom. And just, I'd like to share just on the safe place, simply what was your experience? Just share, nothing, whatever you're present to. Go ahead. Who wants to raise their physical hand or their digital hand and just share what did you notice? What came up for you, please? Who would like to share? Or if you prefer, you can just type something in the chat. Let's see. Okay. I don't see a hand up at this stage. Okay, fine. Any shares in the chat? Someone wrote, beautiful and calming. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you for that share. Okay, someone has courageously raised your hand. Well done. Well done. Okay. Millie, thank you. I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead, say your name. Where are you in the world? And
I'm in Beit Shemesh. My name is Millie. And my safe place, I went to the Redwood Forest in San Francisco. It was a very calming experience because it was during the day, but you looked up, but you just saw glimmers of light because it was quite dark because of the tall trees. And it's interesting. I came back and I was holding my 7-month great-grandchild in my arms, and I had my face over his head, and like my heart just opened, and I felt so safe with this child. I just felt so open with him. And that was a beautiful experience. Thank you.
thank you for sharing that, Millie. And what quality does that bring into your being? What single quality, if you can, does that experience bring into you?
I just felt expansive. I felt safe at that point. I felt a lot of love. Yes.
Beautiful.
And that's very interesting at this time that I could feel that much love. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Is there more?
No.
Thank you. Thank you, Millie. Anybody else who would like to share on the safe place or your experience? There's no right experience. There's no wrong experience. There just is staying out of judgment and just being present to what's come up. Someone shared in the chat, so good to be on the green, real grass in my lovely garden. Okay, super, super lovely. So we're going to move towards a close, but before I do that, I want to just remind us all that what you experience here today is whatever it is, but unless you bring it into your body and practice it, it could be just 1 minute before going to bed tonight. You know, just visualize something calming and relaxing, or being in a calm, relaxing place. Or make some time in your day. Just, it doesn't have to be 20 minutes or half an hour, it could just be 1 minute, just connecting your mind. The more you see, when we need our tools in a state of actual crisis, unless we've practiced them when we don't need them, we won't have them. So in order for our tools to work for us, we need to work for our tools and practice them often. And when I send out the meditation, the invitation is to use it like a antibiotic, a probiotic, let's say. Take it for 10 days, twice a day, and use it that way. And it will train your brain, your nervous system. So you have this resource inside of you. And it will help us all to regulate when we need it because we've practiced them. Thank you once again for joining me on this transformational trauma second part series. And hopefully, as time goes on, I'll be sharing other tools and strategies that resonate with me and have helped me and my family and my patients. May Hashem swiftly end this and hasten the Mashiach yesterday. It's my deepest prayer. And I see someone's raised their hand. I'm going to take Ruchami because I believe she's not local. So Ruchami, go ahead, announce yourself and where are you in the world, please?
Hi, I'm Avraham and I'm from New York. This was amazing. It was so relaxing. Like I wrote in the chat, I didn't realize how much tension I was holding until I did this guided imagery. I have a question for you. Can I ask a question?
Firstly, thank you for sharing that piece. We often don't know how much we're holding. Hence, in last session, I did the body scan, I did the calming breath, and we did the shaking. This is all because the body reacts to crisis. It's automatic. And when we make time to self-regulate, it will automatically regulate and organize itself. So this work is very important maintenance work. Yeah, go ahead with your question, please.
Okay, so thank you. So my question is, I was just wondering, I find myself being compelled to check the news on one hand. On the other hand, when I listen to the news, it makes me very tense. So I'm just wondering what you recommend. It's hard to say just don't listen because, again, like I say, it seems like a very real need to know what's going on and also to be able to feel the pain of the people that are going through the direct suffering. On the other hand, listening does cause a lot of distress.
What do you think you need to do, Ruchami? What will best serve you, your spouse, your family, and the people you touch in your life?
I think finding a balance of reducing maybe how much I'm checking the news, maybe doing it less. I'm finding that hard when, it just, there's so much happening and just wanting to check in often.
So
I'm feeling stuck.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for naming that. Feeling stuck is a state, and naming is taming. So if you experience a feeling, an emotion, and you give it a name, you've already externalized it, and automatically we become less stuck because it's not inside of you because you've articulated it. That's part of how the system works. I was just speaking to a trauma therapist today in preparation for today's webinar, and he categorically tells his people, and he practices zero news. If there's a nuclear bomb, he will know about it. He knows what's going on because he goes to shul and people speak in the coffee room and speak after davening, and he knows what's going on. He's not an ostrich. But he knows himself, he knows his brain, he knows his nervous system, he knows his old default patterns of going to dark and negativity, and he's less resourced to help himself and his family and his children. I know for one that listening to the news first thing in the morning or last thing at night is not a good idea for anybody, because it's not going to promote deep, restorative, restful sleep. And if the first bit of data coming into the brain and nervous system is negative in the morning, it sets up the day to begin to sort for more of that. It raises adrenaline, cortisol, stress hormones, initiates this fight and flight sympathetic nervous system response, which is a whole cascade of crisis neurotransmitters that are very exhausting in the long term. So I can't tell you what you should do. Rukami, it sounds like you answered your own question, which is finding a sort of a medium. I met a friend of mine over Shabbos, and he said to me, he has to watch the news a lot. So I said, why do you need to do that? And he said to me, because I've got such a heart of stone that if I don't read the worst and read everything going on, then I can't pray effectively. And I think this was a trap. I think he's trapped. And I reflected this softly with him. I said, is that really true? Is that really true for you, that you can't daven for what needs to be daven because unless you're all riled up? And he regrouped after that conversation. I want to share one more piece here that I don't want to complicate things, but there is research about a neurological pathway called the default pathway in the brain. And there are a certain group of people who are unfortunately wired backwards through all sorts of trauma situations. And they are at their best when they are in a negative cycle. They're sorting constantly for criticism and negativity. So when you get these people to sit down and do a meditation or breathing or something, they go nuts. They can't do that. So there's a process to help them to rewire their brain as their brain becomes sorting for positivity, and positivity is like Velcro. It sticks to our nervous system, and negativity is like Teflon. It just washes off. Unless you're intervening and training your brain, negativity is like Velcro and positivity is like Teflon, and that's no good. It doesn't create fulfillment and joy in life. An untamed brain is a brain for safety and security and not joy and fulfillment. So does that help answer your question?
Yes, definitely the idea of listening to the news in the morning and the evening, that I really could see the truth in what you're saying. And I think that's in the first place I'm going to eliminate.
Yeah. We all are different. We all know what we need, and we have to be honest with ourselves. If the majority of your mind space is if a person's feeling anxious and fearful and unresourced and short with the spouse and short with the kids and impatient and all that, and listening to the news, I would recommend, a cleansing diet of no news for a week, 10 days, 2 weeks, who knows, If you need to know something, you'll know it. That's just the truth, At the outbreak of the war, I sent out an email about strategies written by a doctor from one of the children's hospitals here in Israel. I edited it a little bit for my purposes. But he was very strongly against watching any visual media at all, because of what I just shared with you now about how sensitive the brain is to visual imagery, and it will go into the wiring and do its thing. We react automatically. And I shared with you on the slide, we cannot control the war outside, but we can call it the war inside. And I know for myself, in order to be as resourced internally as possible, I need all the help I can get meditations, the breathing, the mobilizations, the strategy, the journaling, the meditation, the spodidus, the prayer, the socialization, connecting with friends, connecting with family, doing workshops like this, empowering others, but going into the negative realm, I know myself, it's not wholesome for me. It won't give me the buoyancy I need to be the rock for myself and everybody else. So you've got to know yourself. And you can do an experiment, maybe, wean oneself off for a day or 2 days or an hour or 5 hours and just breathe through that, journal through that, govern through that. Okay.
Thank you so much. I'm going to try it. Thank you.
Good luck. Let us know what happens. Okay. Thank you so much. God bless.